The room you're sitting in may look ordinary. The screen in your hand may seem like every other screen you've ever held. But what if this moment isn't ordinary at all? What if, somewhere in this world, someone you've never met or someone you've crossed paths with without realizing is fighting every single day against impossible circumstances just to reach you? Not because of coincidence. Not because of luck. But because your lives are moving toward the same intersection. Before you dismiss that idea, listen carefully. This isn't about predicting your future. It's about recognizing the possibility that hope, timing, courage, and unexpected connections often arrive when people are ready to notice them. Think about this. Have you ever felt as though someone was on your mind for no reason? Have you ever dreamed about a stranger whose face disappeared the moment you woke up? Have you ever felt an unexplainable pull to visit a place, answer a message, or delay a decision? Whether you see those moments as intuition, coincidence, or something spiritual, they often make us pause. Tonight, I want you to pause. Because this message is about the person who may one day change your life. Imagine someone sitting alone tonight, wondering if they'll ever meet the right person. Imagine them working hard, healing from heartbreak, becoming kinder, stronger, and wiser. They don't know your name. You don't know theirs. Yet both of your stories continue moving forward. Every lesson you've learned. Every disappointment. Every unexpected delay. Every unanswered question has shaped the person you're becoming. And perhaps they're experiencing the same thing. Maybe you've asked yourself, why hasn't love happened yet? What am I waiting for? Why does it feel like everyone else is moving ahead? Those questions are real. But sometimes the greatest relationships begin only after two people have grown into the versions of themselves that can truly appreciate one another. Imagine meeting someone too early. Before either of you had learned patience. Before either of you had healed. Before either of you knew how to trust. The timing wouldn't have worked. So instead of asking, why hasn't it happened? Ask, what if I'm still becoming the person I'm meant to be when it does? That single question changes everything. Now let me tell you a story. A woman once missed her train by less than a minute. She felt frustrated. She believed her day had been ruined. Instead of giving up, she waited for the next one. On that train she sat beside someone who eventually became her husband. Years later she said that missing the first train had become one of the greatest blessings of her life. Stories like that remind us how unpredictable life can be. Not because destiny guarantees outcomes, but because tiny moments can lead to enormous changes. Maybe your story will begin with a conversation. Maybe with an unexpected introduction. Maybe through work. Maybe while helping someone. Maybe while traveling. Maybe in the most ordinary place imaginable. The extraordinary often arrives wearing ordinary clothes. Now picture the person who may one day become your partner. They aren't perfect. They have fears. They've made mistakes. They've cried over people who never appreciated them. They've questioned their future. They've wondered if genuine love still exists. Just as you may have. Perhaps tonight they're making a decision that unknowingly brings your paths closer together. Perhaps they're choosing courage instead of fear. Perhaps they're leaving behind a chapter that no longer serves them. Perhaps they're deciding to believe in tomorrow again. And if that is true, then your own choices matter too. Because meaningful relationships aren't built by waiting for miracles. They're built by becoming someone capable of giving and receiving love with honesty, kindness, respect, and patience. So instead of wondering who is searching for you, ask yourself, what kind of person will they find when they finally meet you? Will they find someone who has learned forgiveness? Someone who listens? Someone who keeps promises? Someone who continues growing? The beautiful thing about hope is that it invites us to prepare for good things without pretending certainty. No one can promise when love will arrive. No one can truthfully name the exact city, exact date, or exact hour. But every day offers opportunities to become ready for whatever comes next. Sometimes the greatest message isn't that someone is desperately trying to reach you. Sometimes it's that life is asking you not to stop reaching toward hope yourself. Because every conversation you start, every fear you overcome, every act of kindness, every step outside your comfort zone, creates possibilities that didn't exist yesterday. And sometimes those possibilities become the beginning of an incredible story. So if tonight you've been feeling discouraged, don't let disappointment convince you that your future has already been written. The next chapter hasn't been read yet. The next introduction hasn't happened yet. The next unexpected opportunity hasn't arrived yet. Leave room for surprise. Leave room for grace. Leave room for the possibility that tomorrow may look completely different from today. Your story is still unfolding. And somewhere in this vast world, countless stories are unfolding alongside yours. No one knows exactly where they will intersect. But hope has a remarkable way of keeping us moving until they do. There is something else you need to understand. People often spend so much time searching for signs that they overlook the changes happening inside themselves. They ask, when will I meet the right person? But rarely do they ask, how have I changed over the last year? Think back for a moment. Remember the version of yourself that existed 12 months ago. The person who carried different fears, different expectations, different disappointments, different dreams. Now compare that version to who you are today. You've survived conversations you thought would break you. You've walked away from situations you never imagined leaving. You've learned lessons that no book could have taught you. Whether you realize it or not, you've become stronger. And growth has a remarkable way of preparing people for relationships they couldn't have handled before. Imagine trying to build a house on unstable ground. No matter how beautiful the house is, cracks eventually appear. The same is true with relationships. The strongest ones are built on foundations that take time to create. Patience, trust, respect, communication, forgiveness. Without those things, attraction alone cannot keep two people together. Now imagine your future partner. They're learning those same lessons. Perhaps they recently let go of someone who wasn't right for them. Perhaps they're finally discovering their own worth. Perhaps they're overcoming fears that once controlled every decision they made. Neither of you can see the other's journey. Yet both journeys continue. Isn't that fascinating? Two people can be growing separately, completely unaware that one day they'll be grateful for everything that delayed their meeting. There is an old saying: the right people often arrive after the right preparation. Whether you believe that saying literally or simply see it as wisdom, it carries an important truth. Preparation matters. You may believe you're waiting for love, but perhaps love is also waiting for the best version of you. Tonight, instead of focusing on what you don't have, focus on what you're becoming. Become someone who speaks honestly. Become someone who chooses peace over unnecessary conflict. Become someone who celebrates another person's success instead of competing with them. Become someone who knows that genuine affection cannot be forced. The more you become that person, the more naturally you'll recognize those same qualities in someone else. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever ignored a small opportunity because it didn't seem important? Maybe you chose not to attend an event. Maybe you didn't answer a message. Maybe you canceled plans at the last minute. None of those choices are automatically good or bad. But they remind us that life is filled with crossroads. Tiny decisions can lead us toward entirely different experiences. One conversation can introduce a lifelong friend. One unexpected meeting can inspire a new career. One ordinary afternoon can become a memory you tell decades later. That's why hope is so powerful. Hope doesn't promise outcomes. It reminds us to remain open to possibilities. Picture your future again. Not as a perfect fantasy, but as a real life shared with another imperfect human being. There will be laughter. There will be disagreements. There will be ordinary mornings. There will be difficult seasons. There will also be moments that make every previous disappointment feel smaller. The first time you truly feel understood. The first shared dream. The first time you both realize you've become each other's safest place. Those moments cannot be rushed. And because they cannot be rushed, they become even more meaningful when they finally arrive. So if you've been carrying loneliness, don't mistake it for permanence. Seasons change. Circumstances change. People change. Your story can change too. Perhaps not overnight. Perhaps not exactly when you expect. But change is one of life's few guarantees. As you continue listening, ask yourself one question. If the person you've been hoping to meet walked into your life tomorrow, would you recognize them because of appearances? Or because of the peace, kindness, honesty, and respect they bring into your life? Sometimes the heart recognizes character long before it notices anything else. And perhaps that's the kind of connection worth waiting for. Not every message arrives with a loud announcement. Some of the most important moments in life begin so quietly that people almost miss them. A simple greeting. A chance encounter. An unexpected phone call. A conversation that lasts only a few minutes but leaves a lasting impression. That's why you should never underestimate ordinary moments. The beginning of something extraordinary rarely looks extraordinary in the beginning. Imagine this. Your future partner wakes up one morning feeling that something is different. They can't explain it. Nothing dramatic has happened. Yet deep inside, they feel an urge to make changes. Maybe they decide to apply for a new opportunity. Maybe they choose to visit family. Maybe they finally gather the courage to leave behind a painful chapter. At the exact same time, you're making choices of your own. Neither of you realizes that every decision is quietly shaping the road ahead. Life often works that way. Not through dramatic signs, but through countless small decisions that eventually lead to unexpected outcomes. Now ask yourself, how many times have you assumed a closed door was the end of your story? Perhaps a relationship ended. Perhaps a dream didn't work out. Perhaps someone walked away without giving you the answers you deserved. At the time, it felt like everything had fallen apart. But months later, you realized that what seemed like an ending was actually creating space for something new. Growth often feels uncomfortable while it's happening. Only later do we understand why it was necessary. There is wisdom in accepting that not every unanswered question needs an immediate answer. Some answers reveal themselves only after enough time has passed. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with old disappointments. Every painful memory adds another stone. Every betrayal adds more weight. Every regret makes the journey harder. Eventually you become so accustomed to carrying the burden that you forget what it feels like to walk freely. Now imagine setting that backpack down. Not because the past never happened, but because you've decided it no longer has permission to define your future. That choice changes everything. People who carry less bitterness often make more room for joy. People who make room for joy often notice opportunities others overlook. And opportunities have a remarkable way of introducing us to people we never expected to meet. Think about the qualities you hope to find in someone else. Kindness, patience, loyalty, compassion, honesty. Now ask yourself another question. How often do you practice those same qualities toward yourself? It's difficult to believe someone else will value you if you've never learned to value yourself. Confidence isn't arrogance. It's the quiet belief that your worth isn't determined by another person's approval. Healthy relationships begin when two people understand that they are complete individuals choosing to share life together, not two incomplete people expecting the other to fix everything. That's an important difference. Real love isn't about rescue. It's about partnership. It's about encouraging one another during difficult seasons. Celebrating victories together. Remaining honest even when honesty feels uncomfortable. Choosing respect during disagreements. Growing side by side instead of growing apart. Those are the moments that transform affection into lasting commitment. Now imagine meeting someone who inspires you to become even better, not because they demand it, but because their character naturally brings out the best in yours. Conversations become easier. Silence becomes comfortable. Laughter becomes more frequent. Challenges become easier to face because you're no longer facing them alone. Those moments don't erase life's difficulties. They simply remind you that burdens become lighter when they're shared. As you continue forward, remember this. The future isn't something you discover all at once. It's something you build one day at a time. Every habit, every choice, every lesson, every act of kindness, every moment of courage, becomes another brick in the life you're creating. So don't become discouraged if your story doesn't resemble someone else's. Comparison has stolen more joy than failure ever could. Your timeline belongs to you. Someone else's chapter 10 isn't meant to make you ashamed of your chapter 3. Keep writing your own story. Keep growing. Keep learning. Keep believing that meaningful connections are still possible. Because every sunrise brings new conversations that haven't happened yet. New opportunities that haven't appeared yet. New friendships waiting to begin. And perhaps, when the timing is finally right, the person you've been hoping to meet won't arrive with dramatic music or flashing lights. They'll arrive as another ordinary day. Until that ordinary day quietly becomes one of the most unforgettable days of your life. Every meaningful journey reaches a moment when waiting no longer feels like waiting. It begins to feel like preparation. There is a quiet difference between those two things. Waiting without purpose creates frustration. Preparing with purpose creates hope. And hope has a remarkable way of changing how we see the world around us. Imagine waking up 1 year from today. Your life is different. Not because every problem has disappeared, but because you've become stronger than the problems that once overwhelmed you. You've learned to communicate more honestly. You've become more patient with yourself. You've stopped chasing people who continually walked away. You've made room for relationships that are built on mutual respect instead of uncertainty. Wouldn't that version of you be ready for a deeper kind of connection? Sometimes people believe the greatest miracle is meeting the right person. But perhaps the greater miracle is becoming the kind of person who can recognize and nurture a healthy relationship when it arrives. Think about the seasons of your life. There were seasons when you laughed more than you cried. There were seasons when everything seemed uncertain. There were seasons when you questioned whether things would ever improve. Yet somehow, here you are. Still moving forward. Still hoping. Still capable of dreaming about tomorrow. That alone is evidence of resilience. Resilience doesn't mean you've never been hurt. It means you've refused to let hurt become your permanent identity. Now imagine another person, somewhere else in the world. They're also reflecting on the lessons they've learned. They're also wondering what the future holds. They're also hoping that one day they'll meet someone who values honesty over appearances, loyalty over convenience, and kindness over pride. Perhaps you and that person will never meet. Perhaps you will. No one can honestly promise either outcome. But one thing is certain. Every day you spend growing in wisdom, compassion, and integrity is never wasted. Those qualities enrich your life regardless of what tomorrow brings. Life has a fascinating way of rewarding people who remain open to possibility. Not every opportunity arrives wearing the label you expect. Sometimes opportunity looks like a new friendship. Sometimes it looks like a difficult conversation that finally brings healing. Sometimes it looks like an unexpected invitation. Sometimes it looks like the courage to begin again after disappointment. The future is shaped less by dramatic moments than by consistent choices. Small acts of courage repeated over time create extraordinary lives. So if you've been searching for certainty, consider embracing curiosity instead. Instead of asking, "Will everything happen exactly as I hope?" ask, "What wonderful possibilities might I be overlooking today?" That question keeps your heart open. And open hearts tend to notice beauty that closed hearts never see. Picture yourself years from now telling your story. Will you remember every disappointment? Probably not. But you'll remember the people who stood beside you. You'll remember the conversations that changed your perspective. You'll remember the day hope returned after you thought it had disappeared. Those memories become the milestones of a meaningful life. If there is one message worth carrying forward from today, it is this. Don't let fear convince you that your best chapters are already behind you. Don't let past heartbreak persuade you that trust is impossible. Don't let temporary loneliness become a permanent conclusion about your future. The next chapter has not been written yet. The next opportunity has not yet appeared. The next meaningful conversation may be closer than you think. Until then, continue becoming the person you're proud to be. Continue choosing kindness even when it's difficult. Continue speaking truth with compassion. Continue treating others with the respect you hope to receive. Whether love arrives next month or years from now, those choices will never be wasted. Because the strongest relationships are not built by perfect people. They are built by imperfect people who choose, day after day, to grow together, forgive one another, communicate honestly, and face life's challenges side by side. So close this moment with hope. Not because anyone can guarantee what tomorrow will bring, but because tomorrow still holds possibilities you cannot yet imagine. Your story is still unfolding. Your future remains unwritten. And sometimes the most beautiful chapters are the ones no one sees coming until the page is finally turned.